Year 7. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Cantonese vegetable stir fry with noodles. So the equipment that you will need is a wok, if you have one. If not, a large frying pan, so deep, or even a saucepan will be fine. You'll need a wooden spoon for stirring, and you will need a chopping board for preparing your vegetables, plus a sharp knife and possibly a peeler if you're doing something like a carrot. So the ingredients on the recipe: 4 spring onions, 100 grams of mushrooms, which is about 4 mushrooms, 1 carrot, 1 pepper, whatever colour you like, and also you will need some noodles, and we recommend the sort of ready to wok sachets of noodles because they're quite convenient. You could use dried noodles, but you would obviously have to soak those in advance, okay? You'll need a tablespoon of oil, a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce or oyster sauce, or you may prefer to use a sachet of a stir-fry sauce. The vegetables on the recipe are just suggestions really. You are welcome to swap things out, but I would try and include a nice range of different colours because that makes your stir-fry look really vibrant and really attractive to eat. So step 1, mushrooms. You're going to thinly slice them. Now with mushrooms, what I always do is just trim off the very end of the stalk. It often might be a little bit dirty. And then just check the rest of the mushroom. You could use a little piece of kitchen paper just to wipe the surface, because sometimes you get, tiny bits of compost that remain. And I think that's the best way to do it, rather than rinsing them under the water. Sometimes they're pretty clean, but just check them over and just remove any kind of little bits with your paper towel. Okay? Keep your board clear, so where you've got these little offcuts, you can just gather those up and put those either in your compost or into your bin. And now I'm going to thinly slice the mushrooms. I'm going to use the claw grip, so I'm going to hold the mushroom like that and do some thin slices, cutting onto the board. And each time I'm moving my fingertips further back, just to keep those fingertips well out of the way of your sharp knife. So with this recipe, we're going to prepare all the vegetables first, and then we will cook it all when we've got everything ready. So mushrooms done, I'm going to just move those over and put them onto another board, or you might want to put them on a plate or something like that, just so you've got this board nice and clear and ready for your next ingredient. It says cut the top and tail off the spring onions and slice. Now in my fridge, I only, believe it or not, had 1 spring onion, which is quite a nice big spring onion. So I'm going to use that, and as well I've got a red onion too. So I'm going to cut off each end, peel away the outer leaves, which tend to be a little bit papery or a little bit dirty. Check the spring onion is clean, and then again we're using that claw grip and slicing along. You may want to cut on a diagonal and get a slightly different shape, but sometimes looks quite good in a stir fry. So all the way along. So the good thing about this is you can kind of use up what's in your fridge. So, I've got 1 spring onion. Why not add that and use a bit of a different onion as well? There are no strict rules here. So move that over. Again, I'm going to just get rid of the waste. And remember, I've got a red onion too. And I'm going to cut off each end and then cut the onion in half. Peel off the outer layers so it's nice and clean, and all the bits that you're not going to eat, you're going to take away. Red onions are nice because they obviously give some colour, and they're slightly sweeter than your sort of normal white onion. Here I'm going to slice the onion, so I'm going to keep it in these like half moon shapes, claw grip, and then slices. Just be careful of that last little bit that you do, mind your fingers. So that's my red onion done. Move it over onto the other board. Pepper. I've got a red pepper. Different ways that people do these. Some people kind of cut around the stalk and do it that way. I kind of cut it into quarters around the stalk. If I face it that way towards you, you can kind of see what I mean. So I'm going to cut one. I'm going to move it onto the flat side. Again, turn it round. There. If you want to use that very end bit, you can. So actually what you're left with is very, very little waste. Check your pieces of pepper, because sometimes you do get seeds remaining, and what we will be doing is removing that white spongy membrane carefully with the knife. So if I show you, if I lean it up on the board, I just go in with the knife and carefully cut down. Like that. Always cut away from you towards the board rather than up like that. It's not as safe. So here again, this knife's a bit big for this actually, but okay, so that is the bit that we're removing. Carry on. So when you've got your pieces of pepper, skin side down, because it's much easier to cut through rather than that way up, skin up. The knife doesn't like going through that as easily. So skin side down, and I'm just going to cut some really nice thin strips. So here we are doing loads of knife skills because we're practicing quite precise cuts. We are using bridge and the claw, the bridge hold and claw grip. My pepper is quite long, isn't it? So these big pieces I'm going to cut in half again, just to make them easier to eat. We don't want to have like great big massive pieces of pepper. Okay, so nearly there. Last piece. Your carrot we need to peel and then thinly slice. Now depending on your peeler and how comfortable you are, you might want to peel away from you onto the board if you're not familiar with, not used to using a peeler. That's probably a good idea. As you get more experience, and quite naturally I sort of peel into my hand, but you do what you're more comfortable with. And it depends on how much experience you have of peeling, really. So, peeled carrot, and you need to, we call it topping and tailing, so literally removing each end. And now I'm going to thinly slice the carrot into strips. And first of all, I'm going to put it into 3. So kind of imagine where you've got thirds, as equal as possible. And deal with one of these at a time. This is quite tricky. And I always sort of stand it up on its end, a really firm claw grip, and slice down like that. Just being really super careful, it is quite tricky. Do that with each piece of carrot. Oops. you've kind of got pieces like this, slices, which you are now going to cut into matchsticks, and we call that a julienne, and they are thin little strips like a matchstick. So keep going until you've cut up all of the carrot. So, hello, my carrot is done. I've also got some beautiful tender stem broccoli, which is great in a stir fry. These require very little preparation, only just maybe washing, check they're clean, and then removing the very end of the stem. Just checking them over, make sure there's no sort of bits that don't look very nice to eat, and just check them over as you go. You could use baby corn as well, little baby sweet corn is nice. So there's my broccoli done. So here are all the vegetables prepared. See how colourful they look. So for this recipe, the straight to wok noodles are ideal. However, if you've got dry noodles, something like this, you would need to pre-soak those in advance. I've put my noodles in a bowl, I've boiled the kettle, and I'm going to carefully cover my noodles with the hot water. You might need a grown-up to help you with this bit, please be careful. So the next step is to heat the wok. This is a gas hob, you may have an electric hob, so just be really careful with when you use the hob. And very soon, very quickly rather, you need to add in a tablespoon of oil. The first vegetable to add is your carrot, because carrots take a little bit longer to cook because they are a root vegetable and they're very firm. So I would get those in first and give those a minute on their own. Just adjust the heat if you need to, so it's not, you don't want to get any of the oil spitting. Turn it down a little bit. So all the vegetables are in the pan now, and just use your wooden spoon to stir them. So this is the method of stir frying. A very, very hot cooking method, and it's therefore a quick cooking method. And it's pretty healthy because you're using a small amount of oil and you're keeping a lot of the nutrients in. All these lovely vitamins that are in your vegetables are being retained because they're not being cooked for a very long time, if that makes sense. So my noodles have now softened and it's time to drain them, carefully using a colander. Next, you need to add the noodles into the pan. Two tablespoons of soy sauce. You could also add in 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce or hoisin sauce, or a sachet of a special stir-fry sauce as well. So continue stirring for about another couple of minutes and then turn off the heat.